Hello, everyone. It is Tree from Lost Time Toys. And today, I don't really have anything planned per se. I just wanted to, evaluate my 1.5 years of collecting vintage girl toys. So, as a little bit of background, I am a 38-year-old man living in Texas. I have a house and my collection, interest really started the beginning of last year, maybe January of 2024. And it started rather by happenstance. I, the first thing that I did was that I was purchasing a black gymnastics Barbie for a friend who lives in a different state, and I bought it for her birthday. And I created a eBay account and I bought this Barbie. That was maybe 2 years ago, and I didn't really think about it at the time. I didn't buy any dolls for myself, really, but around the holiday of 2023, maybe January of 2024, I saw that Five Below started releasing the Rainbow Brite 40th anniversary miniature figures called Chibis. I think I saw my first one was maybe like a Red Butler or a Stormy. And for the very low price of $5.51 or 41 cents, I was able to reignite my passion and love for a cartoon animated series that, for the most part, I had forgotten. It was out of my life. And what I did was I started feverishly traveling to small towns in my area to try to find these Rainbow Brite Chibis. I even uh, went to Austin, maybe like 2.5 hours away, where my youngest brother, was staying, and we spent the entire weekend looking for these Rainbow Brite figures. So my collection really started with that interest, but simultaneously there was a plush toy blind box store that started cropping up in a lot of malls in my area called Miniso, and I really took to starting to collect these like miniature blind boxes. One of them were these like keychain plush girls that were like their heads were like fruits. I just called them the fruit dolls. And I spent the earlier part of 2024, maybe, yeah, really collecting these fruit dolls. But it was very recreational. I would buy maybe a doll once a week or so, but it was very, very casual. And these weren't very expensive. I think they were like $11 for each figure. And that was it. My collection, I didn't even display it. At the time, I was living at home. I was living with my parents during the pandemic, and I just kept them on my like Calyx, the IKEA bookshelf with like the square modulars. Um, and it was only when I purchased my first home last year that I had one Billy bookshelf, and I started collecting. The very first thing that I collected that was like vintage girl toys was actually Rose Petal Place. So let me see. So like these these dolls I started collecting loose, and one of the things that I learned was that I didn't know how to use eBay really. Like I bought dolls individually for probably way more than I should, because I thought that eBay, what I didn't treat eBay like it was a snapshot in time in terms of like what was available in the market at that time. For some reason, I thought that it was like there was such scarcity that like the lowest price on eBay was going to be the lowest price ever, which was a terrible and dumb misconception. So I just like sorted everything by lowest price and bought individual dolls. And what I think I failed to understand was that the shipping when you buy individual dolls adds up so much, because like I would be spending a third of the total cost on shipping, and I'd be spending like $30 per doll, and they weren't even like very, very complete. So like they'd be missing a hat, they'd be missing a purse, they'd be missing a comb, and that was a big mistake. If I could do it all over again, I would tell myself, like, be patient, track the market, like on eBay or Macari, like see how things are selling for a couple of like weeks before you like dive straight in, because you end up overspending a lot. So after a while, I did the same thing for Rainbow Brite. So like all of these color kits I had purchased individually, but none of the ones I display now are the ones that I first purchased, because I bought like raggedy looking dolls, and I have like so many duplicates that I keep in a closet. I keep in a closet in like plastic bins, individual plastic bins. And for example, they'd be missing all of their hand sprites. So then I went on this quest to find the hand sprites that came with the color kits. Canary Yellow didn't have her leg warmers. Lala Orange didn't have her beret. And eventually when I bought a beret, it didn't have like the little star sticker. Buddy Blue didn't have his headband. And when I got a headband, it didn't have the star. So like those little things, even to this day, Indigo didn't have her pants. Indigo didn't have her original ribbons. Patio Green didn't have her original ribbons. Shy Violet didn't have her original ribbons. And I know I'm just like repeating myself, but the dolls were not in good shape, and I thought I did a good job like minimizing costs by buying like a $15 incomplete Patio Green or a $15 incomplete Rainbow Brite. Like for the most part, Rainbow Brite, like the first two Rainbow Brites that I got didn't even have like the original adhesive sticker, the rainbow sticker that was her color belt. So it was a mistake. So eventually I bought duplicates of all of these dolls in lots, and I think lots is buying lots. So like a lot is like a order off of eBay that has multiple items, sometimes like a dozen items. And even though the lots can be expensive, they can be like 70, they can be 100, they can be 120, but you save on shipping and you can start building a collection faster and at a lower cost per item if you buy things in lots. So that's when things really like took a change for me, because then I started piecing together like the best Rainbow Brite doll, and I started picking up the plushes. I started picking up like other accessories and play sets, and my vintage girl toy collection started with Rose Petal Place, and then it started really taking foot with Rainbow Brite. So Rainbow Brite is probably like 60 to 70 to 75% of my entire collection. So it's the collection that I love the most, and it's the collection that if I could start all over, I would just focus on Rainbow Brite. But I love all the various franchises. So that took me through summer of last year, and around the fall, that's when I started getting really into commissioning customs. So I commissioned like these 3 Stormy custom. So Stormy was a Rainbow Brite character that, although they had a prototype of the doll and they were going to release it, it was never ever released. So I started commissioning Stormy customs, and Stormy customs are so expensive. They run anywhere from $200 to $350, and I think the average or median price is like $300. The reason why they are so expensive is because the base of the doll is a dress up doll. So in Wave 3 of Rainbow Brite in 1986, they created a dress up doll. The dress up doll actually had a totally nude body underneath. The original color kits did not have nude bodies. Like their clothes were sewn onto their bodies, so you can't ever remove the clothes, and it'll show like a nude skin. So to get a to do a custom, you have to have like one of the three, maybe one of the three dress up dolls, and you're not going to use Moonglow, because Moonglow is like $300 or more. So you would probably use a Tickled Pink, and Tickled Pink, incomplete Tickled Pink, can sometimes run you $50. Obviously, you would try to find them for less, but that base price is already like a quarter or like a fifth of the cost. And then you put in like the cost of the materials, cost of the labor, like you would have to, the cost of the yarn to reroute the hair to get the color that you want. So it really adds up. So I was furiously passionate about customs. So mainly Stormy customs, because I thought, there's some mystique and like level of like, oh my gosh, like I want a doll that was never created, like to the mass public. And then around the same time, I started really being obsessed. So it's kind of hard to see, but obsessed with Moonglow. There's a glare right there, but Moonglow was a doll that was only released in Germany. So I posted on a Rainbow Brite Facebook group asking like, hey, like if anyone has any leads on getting a Moonglow that wasn't $500 on eBay or very incomplete, let me know. And a very nice person who was living in Spain, my friend Rosa, she reached out and said like, hey, I can show you how to get a Moonglow. And she taught me everything I knew about collecting Moonglow. And she sent me my very first Moonglow. I think I paid $220, which was a steal relative to like buying directly on eBay. But I got it and I loved my Moonglow. My Moonglow was my most cherished item because I thought it was, at the time, it was my grail item. And for a lot of people, it is a grail item. And that's where I realized that I was committed to really like devoting my time, energy, resources to vintage girl toys. So starting in December of last year, so this is only 10 months ago, my friend Rosa and I started developing a very strong friendship with a couple of other collectors on the internet, including a custom creator that I commissioned from. His name is Jay. He's been on this channel. So between Rosa and Jay, I started developing a fervor for vintage Polly Pockets. So Polly Pockets are almost all of these. So these are basically play sets from a collection that was like, it started in 1989, and the vintage era of Polly Pockets goes from 1989 to like 1997. So I focused my attention on collecting the compacts and the play sets from that era. And I joined a bunch of Facebook groups, and in those Facebook groups, I started to learn a lot of the names of the play sets, and I also started learning like the median prices that were sold. One thing that I should caution you is that when people are quoting median prices, sometimes those people are resellers, so they have an incentive to quote a higher median price. And secondly, early pandemic, like 2020 and 2021, prices for vintage toys skyrocketed, in my opinion. It went really, really high because people were like at home and collecting and kind of like indulging childhood nostalgia. So the prices during like 2021, 2022 were much higher than than the prices of Polly Pockets when I started collecting in 2024. Sometimes they were 25% higher. So I thought I was getting a steal, and I think I got a steal. But the one thing that I wish I could tell myself, just like I told myself for collecting Rainbow Brite and Rose Petal Place, is that one, be patient, never buy anything above median. Like, that's just stupid. And the biggest advice is never buy an incomplete Polly Pocket set. So let me tell you why. And this is like something that I learned over time. If you buy an incomplete Polly Pocket set, let's say that you buy the Starlight Castle, which is like a light up compact and that's a pink heart shape, and you say, "Oh my god, it's only $20, but it's missing two figures." You're going to be aggressively looking for these two figures, such that you end up paying like $15 for this figure, $25 for this figure, and the total cost is going to end up being like $70 for a complete set. Because like if you have like an obsessive personality like me, you like to collect complete sets, and you really should collect complete sets for Polly Pocket, in my opinion, because that is part of the charm of being a collector, and it also increases the value both sentimentally and monetarily for your collection. If you have complete sets, if you ever decide to resell it, it's good to have a complete set. So that $70 that you use to procure three different basically purchases to complete your Polly Pocket, you could have found a complete set for like $45 or $50. So something so I did 2 months of just collecting like the best deals, but then I realized I need to focus, like focus, and collect only complete sets. So I only collected complete sets from then on. Unless my one caveat is unless it's a big lot and there's like missing a couple pieces, because the big lot is like, again, the way you do it. So I collected Polly Pockets from December, January, February, March aggressively. Most of my collection stemmed from those 4 months, and I collected a lot of Polly Pockets. Almost everything here I collected in a span of like 3 to 4 months. I will say that one of my really close friends who I met through gymnastics, when I was living in New York, she gifted me like her childhood collection of Polly Pockets, and she gifted me like 20 sets. So my collection is a lot more fulsome because of that gift and donation through my friend Amanda. So thank you, Amanda. So that takes me up to like spring of this year. And during spring of this year, I really developed an interest in, so in the background I was still collecting chibis, but I also started wanting to really like flesh out and complete my Peppermint Rose collection. So Peppermint Rose was a 1992 franchise by Mattel, and there were only 4 dolls. So I was obsessed with collecting Rose Petal Place. Throughout this entire time span, I'm also like collecting Strawberry Shortcake, but Strawberry Shortcake is not my like bread and butter. Like, I collect it here and there. I actually collected it very early on, probably around the time of like Rose Petal Place and around the time I was collecting Rainbow Brite, but I was only collecting them loose. I didn't even think to start collecting anything in box till much later. But Strawberry Shortcake, it's my, like, of all the franchises, is probably like my least favorite. So I was just collecting them recreationally and casually. I would only pay like $20 for like a loose doll. And there was a Macari seller that I basically got all of my loose dolls from. And I also found a lot of the play sets from Facebook Marketplace, which is a really great local resource. So that takes me to like summer. And this summer, I went on a side detour and I started being really into Pop Mart, which is a Chinese based like blind box plush store. And there is a line of plushies called Labubu that like took the world by storm in the months of like May and June, and I went off. I was like, I collected so many. I completed my Labubu collection within like a month and a half. So if you want to see, my Labubus are like right there. You see it? Those 3 boxes on the floor because I don't really care about them anymore. I collected these, and my strategy for Labubu was like you had to play there was a game on the app that allowed you to like collect blind boxes, and you had to pay for it. But I didn't play. I didn't do the whole blind box thing. My strategy for Labubu was I did the pick up in store option, because if you buy a whole box of 6, you were guaranteed to have all different plushies. So I probably dropped an easy $700-$800 to complete Labubu. And after the high of completing Labubu, I think it was like June or July, I fell out real quick. It was like sounds inappropriate. It's like when your libido drops, you're like, what the heck was I doing? So I am no longer like obsessed with Labubu and no longer obsessed with Pop Mart. And in July, I started this channel, and I realized since I was like kind of like waning on my collecting, I decided I'm going to start collecting vintage Rainbow Brite in the original boxes. So this was a very expensive challenge. I called it the Mint Inbox Challenge. And because like someone told me to collect a good quality Rainbow Brite box for the 9-inch dolls, it's going to run you $150 on the low end and like $500 on the high end, and not including Moonglow, which I still don't have because that can run you into the thousands. But I really lucked out because I knew the price points. I talked to my friend Ronnie, who gave me the price points, and I started buying very strategically. I kept on waiting for offers. I got a steal. So I ended up paying very, very little relative to like what their actually market value was for these dolls. And I scored an amazing, amazing lot. There was a seller that sold me like 7 or 8 of these boxes for like in total like $50. And I thought it was a scam. You can watch my video on my channel where it's like, did I get scammed? I paid $50 for a lot on eBay that was valued probably for over $1,000. So that really kickstarted this thing, and I completed it, and I collected a couple of like Grail pieces. So some of the Grail pieces, let me show you. This Color Castle from 2004, paid $550 for it. I really don't regret it because it was so hard to find that Grail piece, and I also paid an exorbitant amount for a hard body Sunriser. Where is it? Do you see it in the very corner? My hard body Sunriser. So the collection physically started spiraling because it started with 1 Billy bookshelf. Then had 2, 3, 4, and now I have 6 or 7 books. Some of them are half shelves. So, but that took me through the end of the summer. I was fleshing out all of the vintage Rainbow Brite. In September, so in August and September, when I finished with the Mint Inbox Challenge, I decided it's time that I started collecting all of the eras of Rainbow Brite. So I collected the 2009, So that was easy because 2009 didn't have a whole lot. And I then collected 2016. That was relatively easy because the prices were good. You could find an individual item for like $15 to $25 if you were like good and diligent. So I completed that. I probably scored, and I started collecting the itty bitties in 2016 as well. So I got good prices for those. Itty bitties probably ran me up $200, and the individual, like the other collection stuff, probably another $200. But it was over a span of like 2 months. And then there was a seller off of Facebook that sold me the almost the entirety of 2004, the 2003 2004 collection, and I got a really really good deal. And she was fairly local. She was like an hour and a half away in College Station, so I bought her entire collection. So Generation 1 mostly done. 2009, which is Generation 3, mostly done. 2016, 2009 is collection Generation 4, mostly done. 2016 Generation 5, most like done. And I also collected the 2024 Generation 6. Collected that as well. And then obviously the College Station Generation 3 I completed as well. So the only thing that I was like that was missing from my collecting was the 1997, which is Generation 2. I ordered almost all of my collection for the smaller doll collection from 1997 from a French online store in Paris called Lulu Burlu, and I did it. And I was trying to save because the shipping was like $50. So I decided I'm just going to ship it to my friend Rosa in Spain. That same week, all of the Trump tariff stuff happened, and I was places in Europe were like, we're not shipping to the United States anymore. So I made a big mistake, and now I'm worried that I'm going to be hit with a tariff bill of $200 on top of the crazy shipping, if they even want to ship. So my friend Rosa is currently holding literally boxes and boxes of the 1997 collection in her house in Spain. So sorry, Rosa. But I was done with Rainbow Brite. I had collected almost everything from Rainbow Brite. I even started collecting like the figures, the PVC figures. And so that took me to almost October. And in October and end of September, I really started following a trend of just copying my friends. So Jay was collecting Lady Lovely Locks, and I was like, oh my god, this beautiful. So Lady Lovely Locks, these two shelves, beautiful, shiny, glistening, girly, feminine dolls. But that was produced by Mattel in 1986 to 1988. Started collecting this feverishly, and now I'm almost done with that. There are a couple of like European exclusives that I don't have, but all of the main dolls, for the most part, with the exception of maybe two, I have. So I'm really excited about that, and I love styling their hair. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So this is a very, very, very long video just to say that collecting is a very expensive hobby, but it is a process, and I wish I could tell myself enjoy the process and not focus so much on like rushing, because I definitely did rush. Like I collected the entirety of my collection in a year and 10 months. So it was very, very fast. So I wish I could have told myself to slow down. But my number one advice is to track history trends and prices, buy things complete the first time, focus on lots, and always wait for like eBay for the sellers to make you an offer. And don't be afraid to like ask the same sellers if they have any other stuff in their collection that they're also trying to sell, because like sometimes people don't even post everything. Like most of the Lovely Lock stuff I just like got, because like I just directly asked the seller that I bought one thing from. I was like, do you have more, and are you willing to strike a deal? Because most likely they're trying to make some money, so they will do it. um, and there are certain items in my collection that were like very, very hard to find. These Mexican sprites, the 2009 Mexican sprites, I had to like ask friends that were going to Mexico to buy for me. Some of the items, like these like baby sprites, my friend Nick in Germany had to send to me, and also I've been using my friend Rosa like crazy to buy me like moon glows or things that I could only get in Europe. But I hope this is at all interesting or helpful. But that's kind of how I started collecting, and like I don't know where this collecting thing is gonna take me, but this these shelves, this room is my TV room upstairs, and it's kind of a mess. But actually, as of today, I bought a dedicated white IKEA table, so it's situated, so I can actually record videos with this as a background officially, instead of like leaving my laptop on the sofa, which is why sometimes like the videos are crooked or the lighting isn't good. But I hope this is helpful. I hope if anything, it allows me to like have some reflection on like what I was doing, and to like understand that like I'm doing this as a hobby and it's not my life. Like I work full time as an attorney. So it's not full. This is just purely personal and fun. And if it's not fun, then you should stop doing it. And the thing is, like, I don't have kids, right? So like I'm able to have the space and the extra disposable income to collect, but I know that not everyone has the means to collect. I grew up very, very poor, so I didn't have any of these toys growing up. But it's a way of kind of like healing myself now that I'm like a working professional and have the time and resources to actually treat myself to nice things. So this vintage toy collecting has been very, very fun. But the moment that it becomes not fun, then I should really reevaluate like why do it if you're not having a good time doing it. So that's kind of why I like restoring dolls, because breathing new life into them is something that I find a lot of fun, and it allows me to play with the toys too. That's probably why I love Polly Pocket so much, because there's so much element of like physical play, of like opening the compact and playing with the various figures. But if you have any questions, let me know. I'm still going to post all the time and show you the new things that I got. But I just wanted to have an actual like sit down session and talk about what is this guy doing? Like how long did it take for him to like amass this collection? The answer is 20 months or so, and probably more money than I am comfortable saying, but it's still less than like a new car. And so I will say that. And yeah, well, I really hope you guys continue to follow this channel. I will be as candid and honest and fun as possible. But yeah, I just love sharing this journey with you guys. So take care.